in the NBA. Reeves is averaging a career-high 35.8 points. The two guys ahead of him are Philadelphia guard Tyrese Maxey and Milwaukee center Giannis Antetokounmpo. More troubling news for Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. Both will not be paid during their leave of absence. Billups and Rozier are being investigated for alleged illegal gambling activities. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you missed the recent Left Coast Forum, then you really missed out. An insightful presentation from Professor Richard Wolff, a call to action from LA Mayor Karen Bass, an insider's view on Prop 50 and the government shutdown from Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, and as usual, Dr. Cornel West brought down the House with a powerful closing keynote. And many of the plenary sessions were standing room only. Check out our social media posts for photos and video of what you missed at the Left Coast Forum and make plans to attend one of our upcoming events. Our next Altadena Town Hall is Thursday, November 6th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena. We're going to interrogate SoCal Edison's settlement fund and see what's really going on with this fire recovery program. And our KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair is Saturday, November the 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here in Lemert Park at Catch at Audubon Middle School. All the details about these upcoming events can be found at our website, KBLA1580.com. So thanks again to all those who supported the Left Coast Forum, and a special thanks to our partners this year. The LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Partnership for Growth, UTLA, LA Care Health Plan, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and the Liberty Hill Foundation.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, where we have conversations with Atiba and Reverend Dr. Todd Geary, 1 foot in the pulpit and 1 foot in the church room, 1 foot in the pulpit and 1 foot in the courtroom. Today, the Dow Jones has dropped 150 points, reversing gains. Powell says the Fed may not cut rates again this year. Hurricane Melissa has killed over 30 people in the Caribbean and in Jamaica and the Bahamas as it heads towards the Bahamas, as millions of Americans also prepare to lose their SNAP benefits. Some 42 million Americans are scheduled to lose their benefits on November 1st. Trump is in Seoul, South Korea, where he is receiving a number of gifts that are made of gold. Brazil's president says that they are horrified at the death toll of a police raid with more than 100 deaths, and it's becoming increasingly clear that the budget impasse between Democrats and Republicans in the Congress, that the price of our premiums for healthcare in the United States are now skyrocketing. Obamacare prices have now become public, highlighting these big increases. In this hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, our very special guest is none other than Atiba, and we're going to cover a number of these issues with Atiba. Atiba has worked as a political contributor for BNC News, The Heat, In the Know with Mo, The Leslie Marshall Show, iHeartRadio, Gov Exec, 96.3 WHUR, and the One America News Network. He most recently was a guest host on Rising, an American daily news and opinion web series produced by the Washington Post. Atiba is the former Deputy Executive Director for the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. He is a strategic alliance consultant and president of Party Politics US. Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's always great to be with you, Jesse, and thank you for that warm introduction.
Atiba, I think we have a conundrum of issues, a plethora of issues that are confronting us at the very hour that we're talking. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, let's start with the economy, has dropped 150 points, even with a rate cut, with the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board now saying that there will probably not be another rate cut in the upcoming session or the next quarter, which leaves closed the idea that there will be further rate cuts between now and December. Atiba, your thoughts on the state of the economy?
The state of the economy is, I think a lot of people don't care really what's going on Wall Street. They're more concerned about what's happening on Main Street. The reality is there's a government shutdown. There are people out of work. There are people. This past weekend, I went to Virginia State University's homecoming, and I literally just tried to shake hands and just thank the TSA workers for working. Because if you show up at the airport and you're going through TSA, let alone getting on a plane, and you have traffic controllers who are guiding us safely through the air, they are not getting paid. So when anyone wants to ask me anything about the economy right now, my question first is going to be, are the policies of what we see Republicans and Democrats doing, is the political fighting, is any of it putting people first?
I'm thinking, Atiba, in this moment that maybe you and I should spend, before we come forward, just a moment sharing with our listeners what the economy is. And let me take the first shot at it. And this somewhat is rhetorical. What is the economy? This is rhetorical. It's every activity. It's those of us who go to work, and it's those of us who don't. It is you on your way to work in traffic in the mornings, and it's other people on their way home from work. It is the brother and sister who has a job. It is the brother who doesn't have a job. It is the brother and sister who has engaged in the legal activity of the United States, pays their taxes. And it is also the brother or the sister who's engaged in any activity, including illegal activity outside the scope for which you can be charged for not re-engaging or engaging in the legitimate economy. It is every teacher who goes to work. It is every lawyer who goes to the courtroom. It is every single activity, whether it's a preacher preaching or someone in the congregation listening, or whether it's the car that we got in to come to the community town hall meeting and the car we left in and where we bought gas. Every single activity is a factor in what constitutes the economy. And so some people are doing well in this economy if you've gotten huge tax breaks. And there are other people, Atiba, as you know all too well, who are not doing well in the economy. And so the economy, while we speak about it oftentimes in an aggregate, it gets about as subjective and personal as how you are doing in the economy. And that is, I think, a fair assessment of when we hear rate cuts. It means that we can buy money, we can get lower interest rates on loans and on mortgages, but it also means lower interest rates on cars when we purchase them. But for some people, it also means an opportunity to make more money. And some people, as a result of lower interest rates, will also lose money. It's almost every activity. I think we're in agreement on that, Atiba.
I think you did a great job in terms of that. Yeah, that is the economy. But, the only part that I would ask or say that you may have missed out on is, what is the global economy? Because all of this is all connected. We're often talk about being American, but we don't talk enough about the fact that we're global citizens. So what happens here has a ripple effect and a tidal effect to people overseas and vice versa. So all these things, whether or not it's interest rates, the bottom line is that people are more concerned about what they're taking home than what they're spending. And that right now, the government shutdown that's going on in Washington, I'm very concerned, to be honest with you. I'm concerned that the Democrats are going to lose the political will that they gained. And I'm also concerned that they have not done a great job with messaging this. They've talked about protecting healthcare, but they haven't talked about the fact that what's really coming down the pike is that less people were going to have less money in their wallet as a result of what this all led to in terms of in the first place. That's gone to this shutdown. And on top of that, there are hundreds of thousands of people that are out of work who are not being paid. And then tomorrow, or November 1st, there are going to be 42 million people who depend on the government for SNAP benefits that are not going to get their money to be able to buy basic necessities in the month of November.
Atiba, I share your insights. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Conversations with Atiba on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More on just about everything that's happening in the news when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
On Thursday evening, November 6th, you're invited to the next KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Town Hall meeting. This time, we're convening at Victory Bible Church, 1497 North Hill Avenue in Pasadena. The town hall will once again be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580 from 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday, November 6th. But you're invited to join us in person for this urgent and necessary community conversation. The theme for this Altadena Eaton Canyon Fire Town Hall is Understanding the Wildfire Recovery Compensation Fund. The primary focus of this gathering is to inform residents about Southern California Edison's newly launched Wildfire Recovery Compensation Program and provide clarity on eligibility and the claims process. There are plenty of questions to be asked, and only KBLA Talk 1580 has the right moderators to ask the tough questions, the right stakeholders and community activists to share their insights, and we have confirmed the participation of corporate executives from Southern California Edison to answer our queries. So be sure to join us at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena, 1497 North Hill Avenue on Thursday, November 6th. The event is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Light refreshments will be served immediately following the live town hall. This KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Rising Town Hall is brought to you by the Black Freedom Fund.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson on fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Today is Wednesday. And on Wealthy Wednesdays, we have conversations with Atiba. And Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks, Jesse.
Atiba, on our live line and joining us is Natalie. I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce Natalie now. And I want to share with our listeners that Natalie is in Jamaica. She is contacting us and reaching out to us live from Jamaica, where she has just experienced Hurricane Melissa. Atiba?
So, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. Natalie is a very, very good friend who is in Kingston, who just experienced what we were watching. Unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, the events that were transpiring, which is considered to be the tied with the worst hurricane in the history of the Atlantic. And just very pleased that you were able to join us today, Natalie. And I also want you to when you just tell us also a little bit about yourself and what you do in the health and wellness space, because I'm assuming that right now there are a lot of people that are not just hurting from a health and wellness space, but even just from a mental health space. But thank you so much for joining us, particularly right now while your country is reeling from Hurricane Melissa.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, Atiba. So I just need to say, first of all, that I I feel particularly blessed and fortunate because when you see the devastation that's happening in the island, I'm not experiencing any of that and any of that hardship on a personal front. I'm a health and wellness coach, so my mission is to help level up the overall wellness of Jamaica. I believe people are sicker than they need to be, and that with the right support and guidance and direction, we can eliminate or at least mitigate some of the lifestyle related diseases that a lot of people experience. This, from a mental health perspective, this is going to take its toll because this is absolutely devastating. This is the hardest hurricane we've ever been hit by in history, not just my limited experience. And it's scary. It's really scary.
So, if you could, and I'm going to preface this with this, Jesse. 3 years ago, I had an opportunity to sit and interview Prime Minister Andrew Holness for an hour. And I asked him a question about the relations in terms of like United States and globally, and what did climate change, was that, or how could that affect Jamaica? And to be honest with you, I had no idea that we were going to go in the direction that we did. But the thing that he said that sticks out most, and which is something I thought about so much for the last 2 days, he said, if a Category 4 or Category 5 hurricane hit Jamaica, it would decimate the island. And that's what we just saw happen yesterday. So can you give us, Natalie, what is it? What is the feeling right now? I know I want to also talk about the western part, which was greatly affected. But what was it like for you going through the hurricane, the winds, the water, all of that yesterday?
It was pretty scary. Like my house, we're situated right on a gully bank. And for those of you who don't know, gullies are waterways that were constructed to run through the cities to collect excess rainstorm drain water and take it out to the ocean. So we have had a situation in the past with bad weather, hurricane storms, where the gully has flooded. So my house is in a flood prone area. So we were very concerned about that. Fortunately, things were moving along very well. But there's when you're in a place of I don't know what's coming, right? It's very scary. Like the least gust of wind that happened outside, when you saw the trees shake, when you heard the winds shake, it was really scary because at any moment in time, that this storm had winds high enough to rip, I think they were saying, to rip the bark off of trees. Now, my windows could easily have gone, so there's just so much, there's so much fear, and a lot of the international media was fear mongering. And I know that gets eyes on what's happening, but it was really scary to think about what could have potentially happened. Unfortunately, we in Kingston were pretty much spared. The western end of the island, not so lucky. It's devastating.
So
Natalie, I've spent a considerable amount of time in Kingston and in Negril and Montego Bay, and I know that Kingston's housing stock is quite different than the western part of the island.
Yes.
And my thinking is that the recovery efforts in the western part of the island is going to require a lot of our assistance domestically, as well as global assistance in your recovery efforts, or we could be looking at literally a decade or more to recover. Can you share with us your thoughts on how we can be helpful to the recovery efforts?
Absolutely. I mean, the government of Jamaica has put up, as of this morning, a website for dialogue, information, as well as donations to come in. And we do know that donations that come in through that channel will be monitored and will be used appropriately. And unfortunately, there are some nefarious individuals who are trying to profit off of this situation. So I would make sure that if you're going to be giving, monetary donation is really needed right now. And I would definitely give through the channels that have been set up by the government, because they will be monitored. As we stand now, the airport in Kingston is it's potentially going to be able to be opened this afternoon. The Montego Bay Airport is a different story. There's been a lot of damage out that side, and we don't know when things are going to be able to get in and out. I have heard from my customs broker that the port is going to be open tomorrow, meaning that ships coming into the harbor with any goods right now or ultimately donations will be able to get into the island. So that's a really good thing. Breads that you have on your screen right there now is another well-known foundation, predominantly focused on the Treasure Beach area, which is South St. Elizabeth. Treasure Beach is just it's flattened. I mean, it's horrible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Atiba.
So when you say, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from what I saw just couple of weeks after Katrina.
Yeah.
And when I'm listening and reading the reports, they were saying that what happened to Jamaica was worse than Katrina. And we're still not getting all the images and pictures of what is there. I saw I think on the west side of Kingston, a picture of a roof being torn off. When you talk about what happened on the west side, which was right there in the eye of the storm, what are you hearing about the people that are there? I think there are thousands and thousands of people that are now in shelters that are without homes. But what did you see, and how would you describe what you're seeing there on the ground in the images that your media is showing about what happened on that western side?
Well, I mean, trees gone is an understatement. There's a particular place in St. Elizabeth called Holland Bamboo. It is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. It's a road over which bamboo grows on both sides. It's like a tunnel made of bamboo. It's just a road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's no more bamboo in Holland Bamboo. Parts of my family, my ex-husband's family, they have a farm in St. Elizabeth. Somebody flew over on the way from Kingston to one of the government officials on the way out and messaged to say that the farm doesn't exist anymore. Now, this is a farm with hundreds of years of history. It's just gone. Like forget about roof. There's no walls. So these are just, and this is like on a hilltop, so people who are cut off, some of my business colleagues are in valleys where they're flooded out, so it's going to be at least 3 or 4 days before they're able to get in and out of their actual home, much less to check on, what else is going on. It's we have family members that we haven't been able to touch base with as yet. Understandably, power has been gone for some people for a long time. Cellular service has been down, so we can't just assume the worst. But it's hard not to be able to get in touch with the people that you need to hear from. Yeah.
Atiba.
Natalie, my heart goes out not just to Jamaica, and as I was talking, because you also know I have family. My nephew is there with his family, and hearing the words and what was going on there. It wasn't just that. It was because I've got a message from someone saying, well, the eye has passed from Jamaica, or from over Jamaica, and was heading toward Cuba. It was what came after the eye left. I don't know if a lot of people recognize that with a hurricane of that size, that it's the winds that come after that. About what point today did you wake up and know, or did you go to sleep, did you know that the hurricane had literally passed and that you all at least were out of the wind's way?
Yeah, it was until I can't even remember what time I decided that it was a good time to go to sleep last night. But what people have to remember is that when you see that storm tracker, that eye is the center of the storm where nothing is really happening in that eye, right? That eye, if I was to drive on a good day from where I live to where the storm touched down, it's a 3.5 hour drive on a highway from my house to where the storm crossed over Jamaica, right? I was feeling hurricane force winds all of yesterday. So don't watch how far away the eye is, because the winds, they go far, 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 and the rain goes far, far, far. We've been under rain since Saturday,
Mm.
right? And I'm sorry, I've lost track. I think today is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
It only just stopped raining. It only just stopped raining last night. Up until
And
this morning, it was still drizzling.
And excuse me, Jesse, I'm asking these questions just for us to understand the human aspect of this and to recognize also that, we've been hearing, okay, the storm is coming. So thank you for saying about what was happening on Saturday, because what was happening on Saturday was the storm was literally saturating the ground to make it easier for when those trees came, when the winds came, to be able to pull up those leaves, to be able to rip the roofs off their head. So this wasn't just a 1 day thing. This was a thing that was a buildup. Even in terms of 25,000 tourists being stuck there who couldn't get out on Sunday, it wasn't because all of a sudden, okay, they just shut it down. It was because the storm was ahead of the eye. It's just that we didn't see it or hear about it from the press standpoint the way that we did until the eye was literally approaching and about to hit Jamaica. So I'm asking that because of what you all experienced in Kingston. And then you all are about 70, 80 miles away, I believe, from where the eye actually crossed in terms of from miles or you can say it in kilometers on the western part.
About 80 miles, yes. Yeah.
And I'm asking that because the way that what you experienced in Kingston, I'm hopeful that we can also get a picture of what that it must have been like for that western part. And so when, in terms of donations and things that are going to be needed and the rebuilding efforts that are going to happen, it was literally, I mean, I can't even describe it. Maybe you can, in terms of what that was like for those winds that came through that part.
No, man, the winds are crazy. Sorry,
Natalie, we have about a minute before we have to take our break.
Okay, so we're talking about flood waters coming up that look like ocean, look like rough ocean coming up into people's houses. The wind enough to rip roofs off. We have a colleague who still can't reach her father, whose roof got torn off in the night last night and had to take shelter in his kitchen. Don't look at Kingston and what you see about Kingston and a few fallen trees. The West End, and I'm talking about from the center of the island to the west, is absolutely devastated. Roofs, flooding, trees. Don't even mention the farmlands. Gone.
Wow. So that's a devastation to the economy. I know that when we come forward, I'd like to ask Natalie Atiba some questions about what kind of international support can we expect beyond the private sector, beyond private individuals contributing to the very legitimate sources that Natalie is leaving us with. I'd like to hear Natalie's thoughts on what we can expect from the global community, given the nature of the disaster that the people of Jamaica have experienced with Hurricane Melissa, and soon the people of the Bahamas will experience, and the people of Cuba. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Conversations with Atiba, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is defending his proposed corporate head tax, saying big companies should pay more to fix damage from the Trump era.
The best way we do it is that we invest in people and asking our corporate partners to put a little bit more skin in the game so that we don't continue to balance budgets off the backs of working people.
The $21 per employee monthly tax would target large businesses to help close a $1 billion budget gap. Former Minneapolis officer Tu Tao, convicted in George Floyd's death, will be released Monday after serving 5.5 years. Tao held back bystanders during Floyd's arrest and was found deliberately indifferent to his medical needs. And rapper Cameron is suing J. Cole, claiming he never honored their deal for the 2022 collab Ready 24. Cam says Cole agreed to either another collab or a guest spot on his podcast, It Is What It Is, but did neither. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year, and their weight. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
In Game 5 of the World Series tonight, the Dodgers will need a much better pitching performance from Blake Snell than he gave them in Game 1. Snell was rocked in Game 1 in Toronto, 5 runs, 8 hits, and 3 walks in 5 innings. With the series moving back to Toronto for Game 6 on Friday, this is almost a must-win situation for the Dodgers to avoid going down 3-2 in the best of 7. First pitch tonight at 5 o'clock. The Lakers are at Minnesota tonight. After 4 games, Lakers guard Austin Reeves is the number 3 scorer in the NBA. Reeves is averaging a career-high 35.8 points. The 2 guys ahead of him are Philadelphia guard Tyrese Maxey and Milwaukee center Giannis Antetokounmpo. More troubling news for Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. Both will not be paid during their leave of absence. Billups and Rozier are being investigated for alleged illegal gambling activities. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Wealthy Wednesdays and conversations with Atiba in our first hour. Very grateful to Atiba for bringing our guest, Natalie, live from Kingston, Jamaica, to our show just before the break. Atiba, I was asking Natalie about international support. What can we expect in this environment of climate disaster and rising waters and more vicious hurricanes and storms and the islands that are profoundly impacted? And I got to be honest with you, and I know this is political and wrong, maybe even the timing might be a little bit off, but your Your neighbor is one of the wealthiest neighbors in the history of the world. And I know that, Natalie, you're here with me. We have lost Atiba for a moment. The United States and our interest in helping poor countries at this hour under the present leadership is waning. Natalie, your thoughts, and what can we expect in terms of international assistance, and what is the ground that we have to make up as a people, domestically and globally, to help the people of Jamaica at this hour of its need?
That's a great question, and really and truly thank you. Jamaica is one of those countries that I think from time immemorial we hold a special place in the hearts of many. Um, you know, you hear stories about randomly going to places like Japan and somebody's wearing a Bob Marley shirt. So Jamaica has touched the lives of many internationally. And I believe that in times like this, people who love us really do a good job of sending help home. We also are in a unique situation where almost as many Jamaicans that live on the island, the numbers live internationally as well. So we've got a huge diaspora that at times like this rally and send help home. The government has set up, as I'd indicated before, set up avenues for donations. And I think those are a great place for individuals and small corporations to send help. And I do know that the government will be touching base, and they have already begun the prospects of ensuring that the government to government aid is there. The thing is, what are people sending?
Let me comment on
So
that, Natalie. The government
yeah.
of Jamaica, Hurricane Melissa preliminary national needs list as of October 27, 2025, in this order: 11 critical items. Batteries, 1. 2, bedding foam. 3, cots. 4, flashlights. 5, lanterns. 6, mattresses. 7, pillowcases. 8, pillows. 9, ropes and bungee cords.
Yeah.
10, tarpaulins. I don't know what that is. And a number 11, mobile storage units, quick erect shelters. I'm sorry, Natalie, back to you, and then back to Atiba.
No, tarpaulins are those large pieces of plastic. Typically, they're blue for some reason. That people can use to cover. Yeah, tarps, exactly. In Jamaica, we call them trapolin. But that's for those of us who've lost roofs or a portion of our roofs to cover over us so that we're protected from the elements. That's just the beginning of the list. It's a huge document. We need water purification. We need ability to catch water, purify water. Yeah.
Atiba? Atiba, I think you're muted. Okay, I still can't hear Atiba. Atiba, are you there?
I can't.
Okay, so Natalie, what kind of support can we expect from the international community?
Hard for me to put a dollar figure on it, but we've never been let down by the international community. As I was saying before, Jamaica is I think we're a God-blessed country, whether or not you believe in God. We just are. People love the magic that Jamaica brings. And I think we're gonna see the international community rally. And as you rightly say, it's not just us that are going to need rallying around. Now that Melissa has crossed over Jamaica and is headed towards the northeast, Cuba is going to be in need of help. On the way down and across, Haiti had quite a few deaths, unfortunately. So all of this little area of our world is going to be needing love and support, financial aid, and non-perishables. After Gilbert, I lived through Gilbert. I was a young girl, but we were without power for weeks. We were without power for weeks. We were cut off, and we survived on tin food.
Well,
The
the
joke
people of
is tin
Jamaica,
food and hot air.
the people of Jamaica are certainly in our prayers. Atiba?
Thank you.
I am still struggling to hear Atiba with a connection
Yeah, I don't
difficulty.
know.
So Atiba will join us in 1 second with once we get over the connection difficulty and the technical aspect of this.
Yeah.
There've got to be some amazing stories, Natalie, about heroism and people who are going out of their way to look for people who have been devastated by this storm. You know, here in the United States, when we have a storm of this magnitude, save for Katrina, when the National Weather Service tells us that such a storm is coming, people from California move to other states. They move west, they move east. And I don't think they understand that even in a state like Louisiana, where we had Katrina or where we've experienced hurricanes in Texas and the Carolinas and other parts of the United States, that we can go west when the storms are coming, and then we return to, the devastation. But an island like Jamaica, there's nowhere to go. When a storm this large approaches an island of this magnitude, there's no escaping it. There is no notification other than to hunker down or to climb to the highest mountain or to take advantage of government shelters. But there's no thousands of miles to travel and then come back and assess the devastation. And in many cases, there's no insurance, no federal emergency management agency on the scale that's necessary to address the need. We are on an island and it is completely consumed by a slow moving storm. I know that Atiba is back with us now. Atiba? And I still can't hear Atiba. Natalie, your response, Natalie, to the idea that this storm is very different than what most Americans experience.
Absolutely. I mean, already right now we're cut off from various communities. Trees are blocking major thoroughways. I've had some of my neighbors have attempted to drive to St. Elizabeth and to the West End to offer assistance and had to turn back, got stuck halfway. So we're cut off. I'm cut off from members of my staff who don't live that far, but live in challenged areas that are up in the hills, and they've been cut off. Now, I'm anticipating being able to get power back by tomorrow, the next day. I don't think I'm making it through the weekend without power. But I can't say that about the majority of the people impacted by this. We're going to be without light for a long time. And remember that being without light also means that our water supply is compromised. We are those of us that live in Kingston, let me tell you the thing about Jamaica. We are, as big as we are as an island, we are community based, right? And we support one another as much as we may quarrel and argue and complain and whatnot, right? But already I have excellent friends who are rallying with international organizations to get, relief here, relief there, get things done. So we are our brother's keeper in this island. Like, we do take care of our people in times of travesty such as this.
I think in this moment, because of course we're live in Los Angeles, California, I think about the Altadena fires and the recovery that African Americans and African American communities and communities within the United States themselves are going through from natural disasters. I think about now what is taking place in the Caribbean, given the natural disasters, that in a real sense, this hour requires many of us to reflect upon our histories, to reflect upon the diaspora itself, that our churches need to be sending canned goods and organizing canned good drives for Jamaica, that we need to pull together the tarps, that we need to pull together the essential items, including batteries, for the people of Jamaica so that they can see. Imagine being in the dark for months. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Conversations with Atiba when we come forward on KBLA and our very special guest, Natalie, live from Kingston, Jamaica.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we are made the more wealthy by our conversations with Atiba, who brought to us today a very special guest, Natalie Murray, who is live in Kingston, Jamaica, and she just experienced Hurricane Melissa and is sharing with us some of the needs our brothers and sisters have in Jamaica that we can contribute to and be blessed for our ability to help our brothers and sisters. Natalie, before I bring you forward, Atiba, have we worked out our technical difficulty? Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can. There is an echo, but I am glad that I can hear you. Let me encourage you to kill the sound on your computer and let's go through the phone that I understand you're talking through. I want Natalie, if she's willing, to at least hang with us for another segment, because I do want the dialogue to continue between Natalie and Atiba into the next hour, at least for another segment, given the technical difficulties. Atiba, welcome forward once again to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and Natalie Murray, welcome forward as well.
Thank you.
Natalie, I'm sorry for the muting. I mean, for the echo. First off, as a friend, I just want to say thank you again for making time today to be part of this. The conversation, I think people need to hear. And my concern is based on what I've seen and heard over the years with other instances, whether it was Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, New Orleans, that, just all of this is like, it's the part that we see that's in the media, but it is the part that we get from people who actually experienced what you just experienced. I know we were just messaging you were saying that you don't even know how to pull from some of the things. We're going to share as much as we can with our audience, or not it's just with people, just in general. But what is it right now that, if there's anything that you could, on behalf of the Jamaican people, what is it that you would like us to say, do, feel, not just right now when this is like right in the midst of all this, but in the days that come when people have moved on and paying attention to other things?
No, Atiba, that's exactly it. I think we are front of mind today and maybe tomorrow into the weekend, but what it's going to take to rebuild Jamaica, it's going to take more than you remembering us for the next few days. We are set back. We're set back like a lot. I whether it's months, whether it's a year or two. Some of the places that have been hit hardest by Hurricane Melissa just got hit last year by Hurricane Beryl. So the same people that have lost yesterday and today are the same people that lost a year ago. I don't know how they have the fortitude of spirit to continue moving forward. So yes, we're going to say, and I mean, I'm no official individual in this capacity at all, but I could only imagine that we will need relief funds. I can only imagine that we will need relief medication and things like that. But we need more than that. We need you not to forget about us in the weeks and months to come, because this is going to be a long road to recovery.
Let me just add for our listeners what a setback means in the context of a catastrophic storm like Melissa. And then hopefully we can close on a word of hope from Natalie. It means that a 10-year-old child in a Jamaican school, alongside their counterpart in the United States, could very well be set back a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, based upon our ability to get them back in the classroom, consistent with their age group, not only in the United States, but globally. So just imagine that. Imagine that the recovery efforts for rebuilding schools, rebuilding institutions of learning, let alone government infrastructure, let alone sanitary infrastructure, let alone airport repairs and fixing the control towers or those things that have been damaged. Every minute and year that we wait means that someone in Jamaica is not keeping up with a fast-moving global economy. Yeah. That's the nature of the devastation. I know that that normally in this hour I ask Atiba to close with a word of hope. I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, Atiba, I'm going to ask Natalie if she wouldn't mind helping lead us through a word of hope for the people of Jamaica at this hour of their devastation. Natalie, that word of hope lasts about 3 minutes.
I don't know if I have 3 minutes of hope in me, so I'm going to rely on Ativa to come in. But what I think what's important, certainly what I want to get out to the community that's listening, is that we need your whatever religious persuasion you may hail from. We need your positive energy. We need your thoughts. So we need your prayers. We need your support in terms of infrastructure rebuilding, connectivity, power, water, just the basic fundamentals. We are a resilient nation. Jamaica, we are not a country of shacks and beggars. We are a proud people. We are a vibrant people. We have a lot to offer on the global scale. We offer a lot of hope, even if so simple, through our music, and I know that the international community is there for us, and we do appreciate that. And I so appreciate the time that you've allowed us to participate through this broadcast. I'm going to encourage anyone who's listening to give within your means, whether it's $1 or $10 or multiples thereof. Give through the proper channels. That's going to be a massive help. We've already been getting international aid through entities such as Starlink, who have supported our local mobile and telecommunication providers, so that we've been able to maintain some degree of connectivity through the internet. So every little thing that you may think may not be beneficial is helping us. Most importantly, your thoughts and your prayers. So I do appreciate that. Atiba, help me out here.
One of our colleagues commented just a moment ago, Atiba, that there's great devastation in the St. Anne area where his family resides. It's unfathomable. We still cannot reach loved ones. That's from Gary Bainbridge of KBLA Talk 1580. Certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to him as well. Atiba, we have about 1 minute before we come forward.
My hope is that we look at each other and we recognize that we're all part of a global community. And that in that global community, we all are our brothers and sisters, and that we recognize that in any situation that anything can happen, that it could be us. And just look at Jamaica and recognize that we are Jamaica, and that we do everything and anything possible that we can to help Jamaica. And Natalie, my hope also is that if there are other times or anything that comes up, please do not hesitate to reach out. Please do not hesitate to spread whatever information it is that you can, but that myself will take it upon myself, and I hope that others will take it upon themselves to make sure that we do not forget Jamaica.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. The people of Jamaica need our help at this hour. Not only our thoughts and prayers, but our resources, our community organizing, the gathering of food, clothing, and essential items. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is defending his proposed corporate head tax, saying big companies should pay more to fix damage from the
Rozier. Both will not be paid during their leave of absence. Phillips and Rozier are being investigated for alleged illegal gambling activities. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ready? You're invited to the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair on Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Catch at Audubon Middle School in Lamert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Join us for a day of health, healing, and community connection. There will be health screenings, immunizations, wellness information, a Ketch Charter School recruitment fair, plus music and healthy snacks. And it's all free at the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair, Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Audubon Middle School in Lamert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Come out and bring the entire family. And if you have not yet checked out our KBLA Health and Wellness Hub, you should at KBLA1580.com. KBLA Talk 1580 thanks Ketch Charter School, Prudential, Eastside, Cedar Sinai, and St. John's Community Health. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that a healthy community is a thriving community.
That's right, baby.
Jesse Jackson on KBLA Talk 1580. In our last hour, we were having a conversation with Atiba on the issue of the Jamaican hurricane that came by way of Melissa. That's her name, the name of the hurricane that devastated the island. And I'm thinking this moment, Wagwan Restaurant in Lamert Park, right across the street from KBLA, or whenever I'm in Los Angeles and live in the studio, I go to get my beans and rice, my jerk chicken, my rotis, and our prayers are also extended to right across the street from KBLA in Lamert Park, the Wagwan Restaurant. Probably the best Jamaican food in Los Angeles, by the way. They must have family members that they are desperately trying to reach and are concerned about at this hour, just as Gary Bainbridge is, our colleague at KBLA, as well as our brothers and sisters throughout the entire diaspora. More than our thoughts and prayers, they need batteries, they need tarps, they need clothing, they need beds, they need shovels, they need generators. They need a lot of help from a government in the United States that's quite frankly very dysfunctional. In this hour of our program on Wealthy Wednesdays, it's made the more wealthier by S. Todd Yeary, both our lawyer and our pastor. He has 1 foot in the courtroom and 1 foot in the pulpit. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays, where we discuss the politics of our faith. Can't nobody hear you, Dr. Yeary, until you unmute your phone. I still can't hear Dr. Yeary. Okay, so I'm going to figure out what the technical problem is on that end, because when he does come through, just shout at me, Reverend Todd. I can see you, but I can't hear you. And so we will address that issue both either at KBLA directly or with Taz to make sure that our mobile guests are actually connected to the program in terms of sound. So I want to bring that to the problem so that we can try and get to it. Yes, wow. Wow. I want to try and chase down the problem so that Todd can come on. That's what I want to do. Yeah. So anyway, I find it fascinating that in this hour of need, we're being forced to look beyond all of the problems that we have domestically and ask ourselves questions internationally about the role that we play in the world house, about the role that we play internationally from people who are in need and are hurting. And so our brothers and sisters in Jamaica find themselves at this hour, and the Bahamas and in other parts of the world having the exact same concerns, but due to not man-made disasters, but climate-related disasters, disasters related to climate change, disasters related to natural disasters, that is things that are out of our control. I can say this, that even though the near estimates, or at least the present estimates for the loss of life, are around 30 people in the Caribbean, the reality is our tax dollars have already played a major role in helping save lives in the Caribbean. And that is our technology that hovers above the Atlantic, that can see storms as they approach the Caribbean, as they approach the United States, allowing the American people to share information on the devastating storms that our climate is now yielding for all of us. And so Jamaicans, Haitians, Cubans, many of these countries that do not have their own satellites in space are the beneficiaries of the early warning systems that we, the American people, have paid for. And those early warning systems are a factor in the saving of lives. And if you think about early warning systems, 3,000 years ago, when the Bible, Todd, was being written, some of these storms did not have early warning systems, and they ultimately became Bible stories in the Bible. Big storms, earthquakes, things that we could not anticipate actually became part of our faith in understanding how God works in the natural space. Todd, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, now that I got the right mic hooked up, I think I'm good. Always good to be with you in the midst of this very difficult moment for the Caribbean with this most recent storm, and certainly the capacity of the U.S. government, in spite of its dysfunction, to provide aid. We will see what this president decides to do.
What are your expectations that the United States, what kind of response do you think the United States is going to give in light of his attitude towards people of color generally?
Pretty low, quite honestly, if he makes any acknowledgement at all. I think what we will find is a lot of it will be driven by whether or not other members of the international community will reach out first and leave the United States kind of in isolation. And so these are moments where the shaming ends up being a political strategy, because there's no clear position on kind of human concern, human rights, human decency from this administration, as we've seen domestically, and certainly I believe we will see on the international stage.
That is certainly my hope and my expectation, because when you look at the United States Agency for International Development, when we think about the deployment of troops in Los Angeles, the deployment of troops in the city of Chicago and throughout our country, just imagine the Army Corps of Engineers. Today, we're being dispatched to Jamaica. We're being dispatched to Haiti. We're being dispatched to Cuba. We're being dispatched around the world, wherever these disasters are taking place, spreading goodwill, not just food, but helping dig people out of these climate-driven disasters on behalf of the American people. Just think and reflect upon what the consequences of that would be for all of us if, in fact, our nation were far more giving and far more generous. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is Wealthy Wednesdays, the politics of our faith with S. Todd Yeary, when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
On Thursday evening, November 6th, you're invited to the next KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Town Hall meeting. This time, we're convening at Victory Bible Church, 1497 North Hill Avenue in Pasadena. The town hall will once again be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580 from 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday, November 6th. But you're invited to join us in person for this urgent and necessary community conversation. The theme for this Altadena Eaton Canyon Fire Town Hall is Understanding the Wildfire Recovery Compensation Fund. The primary focus of this gathering is to inform residents about Southern California Edison Edison's newly launched Wildfire Recovery Compensation Program and provide clarity on eligibility and the claims process. There are plenty of questions to be asked, and only KBLA Talk 1580 has the right moderators to ask the tough questions, the right stakeholders and community activists to share their insights, and we have confirmed the participation of corporate executives from Southern California Edison to answer our queries. So be sure to join us at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena, 1497 North Hill Avenue on Thursday, November 6th. The event is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Light refreshments will be served immediately following the live town hall. This KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Rising Town Hall is brought to you by the Black Freedom Fund.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson on fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Wednesday, Wealthy Wednesdays, where we discuss the politics of money with none other than Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary, just before this show began, I began the last hour by going through a number of news items that I think do matter. On November 1st, 42 million Americans are going to lose their SNAP benefits, better known as food stamps, and other supplemental nutrition program related items from the federal government, in large measure as a result of the government shutdown. The Dow today closed lower, giving the gain of after Powell signaled that he may not cut interest rates again for the remainder of this year. Obamacare prices are now becoming increasingly clear. The premium increases, Dr. Yeary, for what it means to have the Republicans in Congress essentially make premiums for health care more difficult and unaffordable for the American people. It seems to me that we're getting back to the issues surrounding the economy that matter to the American people, and this is about to be a very difficult week for the American people. Dr. Yeary?
Well, as former President Clinton said, it's the economy, stupid. It is. The reality is that premiums, before we even deal with the subsidy question, are expected to go up about a third on average across the board. And so that's going to affect people in states where there are subsidies and people in states where there are not subsidies. And so overall, if you have fewer people on insurance, particularly younger, healthier people, then the risk number goes up, and therefore your costs are going to go up even higher. So that's one. The fact that we're coming up on November 1, as we get into the holiday season, a lot of your retailers are starting to look at whether or not they're going to recover. Typically, the reason Black Friday is Black Friday is that's the day many of the retailers actually move from having operated in the red most of the year and finally get back to the water level or even in what we would call the black. It's when they become somewhat profitable. going into the Christmas holidays. You've got tariffs out there that are changing your cost profiles. You've got supply chain disruptions. You've got an unclear economic plan from this administration, and driving all of it is really a lack of decency about who's going to be impacted, which is why if you don't get federal employees back to work and take care of the health insurance issue, you're not going to get the money back in the pockets of those who have gone without paychecks fast enough to really be able to change the last 2 months of the year. And you could actually see some recessionary pressure because you're going to have too many goods, not enough money in the system. And so I think the Fed chair is probably right. He's given us a signal that until there's some clarity around what economic policy looks like, there's going to be a great deal of uncertainty and probably a great deal of risk and volatility for the next, let's say, not quite 70 days left in this year.
Dr. Erie, I tried to share with our guests and our listeners in the last hour that the economy really is everything. It's people who are working, it's people who are not working, it's every single activity, legal and illegal. It is every action and reaction that we take in the context of our system. And it's very subjective. How the economy is doing for Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates is very different than the economy from someone, let's say, in Harvey, Illinois, or Altadena after the fires, or Compton, or South Central Los Angeles. The economy is what you say it is because it really does wrap itself around your personal being and how you see it and how you're doing in it. So when we talk about the economy, it doesn't get much more subjective than that. I admire the work of Martin Luther King Jr. when he says essentially that the economy is not doing well for the least of these. And he helps elevate in the economic conversation that we have an obligation to our neighbors. So does William Barber, so does Jesse Jackson, and certainly you do the same. I am struck in this moment when we think about these economic issues that too often our communities are not participating in the global economic conversation, where the global economy itself is doing so well. But when we see the use of tariffs, even for Trump supporters, soybeans and corn and cotton and lettuce, farmers who cannot get their products to market. And we think about urban areas where, we sell chicken and fish, but we're really not in the service-based economy. I'm thinking in this moment that we're still talking past each other as Americans on this question of what constitutes voting our economic interests. I know that you've given this a lot of thought.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. The global economy and our ability to participate in it for regular everyday folks comes down to discretionary income. What do I have left over after I've addressed my essential needs? When I'm not able to cover my essential needs, when I don't have money to pay my bills, when I have to borrow money to pay attention, right? It's that kind of tension that leaves me at really a disadvantage when it comes to taking advantage of all of the other opportunities that the top 1% or the elites, as we would call them, take advantage. And so the challenge becomes we get sidetracked because as we get closer to elections, we get, tokens. They throw coins. They'll give us some sort of rebate of a few $100s, and we get a check from the government and think we hit the jackpot. It's almost like hitting the lottery. But because there's no long-term strategy that is tied to understanding how does my now affect my next, it often leaves us vulnerable and susceptible to the games that we see playing on Capitol Hill right now. You don't hear wealthy Americans complaining about the current state of the economy. They're celebrating that the interest rates were cut because if they're navigating the of the cycle? How do you leverage debt to be able to advance your economic interest? That works to their advantage. When you don't have net disposable income, if you can't cover a debt ratio, you can't take advantage of low interest rates. You are actually held hostage by the economy and you're forced to be a spectator. And so some of this comes down to having an economic game plan to understand how, as a collective, do we leverage our collaborative, our economic self-interest as a group to drive the outcomes, but also to understand that the key thing that comes down to in the midterms is that all 435 members of the House of Representatives are up. And the one thing that's critical, as you well know, is that all of your money bills originate in the House. And so if you have money issues, who represents you in the House is critical. And as they're playing games with gerrymandering, changing the makeup, trying to carve out and block out certain groups of people because they feel as though their political disposition is different, it means then it's not just a racial thing. Let's remember, race has always been equated with money. If we can't get free labor to undergird the economy, then we're going to have issues to sustain a economy. We are consumers. And so the greed of America is what Dr. King was actually criticizing and critiquing. And that greed has never been more profound than as we find it right now under this current administration and all of the otherwise known oligarchs who he's placed around him, or their functionaries, to make sure that their interests are protected while the rest of us have to figure it out.
You know, Todd, I'm conflicted right now. The initial messaging from the Democrats was finally the party is standing up and is willing to shut the government down. And the argument, of course, is and was that the amendments that they were proposing to save elements of Obamacare and the health care of the American people were worth shutting the government down. Hey, I get that messaging. I agree with that messaging. 27, 28 days later, Republicans have wised up to the idea that if they blame the Democrats, the messaging that was initially from the Democrats can be muffled by simply saying it's not our fault, it's their fault. And so both messages, given the way in which they're being positioned, are canceling each other out. And then I'm asking myself this other question, that at the same time that this is occurring, both political parties are in some kind of jockeying between the states over protecting themselves and gaining their majorities. And if I weren't a student of yours, I would just throw my hands up and say, you know what? The House is trying to protect itself, and it really doesn't give a damn about the American people. It doesn't care about us. And it's hard for me to receive the messaging on the economy that matters to me. It looks like the politicians in Washington are focusing on the preservation of themselves, because both messages with respect to the shutdown itself are being canceled. And who's being hurt? Who's being hurt the most? The least of these. Dr. Yeary, am I receiving the right message, or is that just me talking?
Well, the frustration is real. It's not your imagination, but the rules of this game are not going to change simply because we're frustrated. The reality is dollars to address private needs. And if we don't put our demands on the table, it then gives actually permission to be excluded from any consideration. So if we don't show up at all, then basically we endorse the fact that whatever harm that might be done is actually harm that we have actually embraced. And so our challenge has been not whether or not we justify participating, but whether or not we participate so that they can't turn us away. In scripture, if we were to use a text, the unjust ruler has this woman who keeps coming and petitioning, says, give me justice in the face of my enemies. He's an unjust ruler, but he says to himself, unless I address her concern, she gonna keep worrying the heck out of me. So let me do something so that she'll just leave me alone. If not until they finally decide that they're going to get around to addressing our concerns, then basically we let them off on the cheap. And so we've got to make more noise, not less. We've got to be more present, not less. And we have to be more persistent, not less. Otherwise, we're going to continue to get less than we're getting.
Dr. Yuri, I'm struck also by the messaging that's coming out of Washington. We have Americans on November 1st who are going to be in need, immediate need of food assistance. We have Caribbeans who are in need of support from their neighbor. The United States is the closest and wealthiest nation in the history of the world to the Caribbean at this hour of its devastation. We have a White House that is signaling and has demonstrated that it is prepared to build a big, better ballroom for $350 million and climbing. And it just seems to me that the messaging that's leaving the United States is we really are abandoning any kind of moral obligation to the poor at this hour, not only domestically, but also internationally. Dr. Yuri?
I don't know if we look at the essence of how the nation was founded, the poor were not a priority. They were actually a consideration that had to be addressed for those who were ultimately in charge. Poor people didn't own land. Poor people could not vote. Poor people likely could not marry. And so this experiment of addressing the needs of the least of these has been because the least of these refuse to go away. And so November 1 is critical because it's the next test. It's not the only test. We got health insurance. We've got people unemployed. We've got government workers who are out of work. We've got a government that's coming to take people's jobs and change the makeup of the middle class. We've got a lot of work to do, and we've got a short time to get it done.
This is Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., Dr. S. Todd Yuri. He's both a pastor and a lawyer. He makes our Wednesdays even more wealthy. We have been talking about disaster assistance for the people of Jamaica who've experienced one of the most devastating hurricanes in the history of their country, but also the history, quite frankly, there's never been a stronger storm to make complete impact like Melissa has made in the Caribbean. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A Black North Carolina man has confessed to killing 4 of his 5 children and placing their bodies in his car's trunk.
I can stand here and say there's no reason for a father to murder his children.
Deputies say 38-year-old Wellington Dickens called 911 from his Zebulon home where his 3-year-old son was found alive. The victims were ages 6, 9, 10, and 18. Nia Young is Tampa, Florida's newest city council member after winning the District 5 race with over 60% of the vote. The 33-year-old replaces the late Gwen Henderson and will serve through April of 2027, becoming the council's only Black member. And Dictionary.com's 2025 word of the year is 6'7", a viral slang term meaning so-so or maybe this, maybe that. The site calls it purposefully nonsensical, possibly inspired by rapper Skrilla's 2024 song Doot Doot 6'7". Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. In their wait, sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
In Game 5 of the World Series tonight, the Dodgers will need a much better pitching performance from Blake Snell than he gave them in Game 1. Snell was rocked in Game 1 in Toronto, 5 runs, 8 hits, and 3 walks in 5 innings. With the series moving back to Toronto for Game 6 on Friday, this is almost a must-win situation for the Dodgers to avoid going down 3-2 in the best of 7. First pitch tonight at 5 o'clock. The Lakers are at Minnesota tonight. After 4 games, Lakers guard Austin Reeves is the number 3 scorer in the NBA. Reeves is averaging a career-high 35.8 points. The 2 guys ahead of him are Philadelphia guard Tyrese Maxey and Milwaukee center Giannis Antetokounmpo. More troubling news for Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. Both will not be paid during their leave of absence. Billups and Rozier are being investigated for alleged illegal gambling activities. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
If you missed the recent Left Coast Forum, then you really missed out. An insightful presentation from Professor Richard Wolff, a call to action from LA Mayor Karen Bass, an insider's view on Prop 50 and the government shutdown from Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, and as usual, Dr. Cornel West brought down the House with a powerful closing keynote. And many of the plenary sessions were standing room only. Check out our social media posts for photos and video of what you missed at the Left Coast Forum and make plans to attend one of our upcoming events. Our next Altadena Town Hall is Thursday, November 6th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena. We're going to interrogate SoCal Edison's settlement fund and see what's really going on with this fire recovery program. And our KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair is Saturday, November the 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here in Lemert Park at Catch at Audubon Middle School. All the details about these upcoming events can be found at our website, KBLA1580.com. So thanks again to all those who supported the Left Coast Forum, and a special thanks to our partners this year: the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Partnership for Growth, UTLA, LA Care Health Plan, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and the Liberty Hill Foundation.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. S. Todd Yeary is principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Reverend Yeary is also former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the international human rights organization and civil rights organization founded by my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Yeary will be joining us momentarily when he reconnects. I think he needs to unmute Dr. Yeary. Let me also share with you that I was watching a very, very interesting program where Wolf Blitzer was interviewing Abby Phillip on both of our former boss, Dr. Yeary, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, my dad, where she was sharing with the world the contribution that Jesse Jackson made in 1984 and 1988, and just how pivotal it was in shaping the Democratic Party, and of course the narrative of building coalitions in order to win these critical victories. Dr. Yeary, your thoughts on Jesse Jackson?
Where does one begin is really the question. 1984 doesn't happen in 1984. 1984 is actually birthed at least a decade to a decade and a half earlier, when after the assassination of Dr. King, there's a great deal of concern, even uncertainty, about what the political path for Black America will look like. And so on the heels of important gatherings like the convention in Gary, in terms of organizing and changing the landscape of just as simple as having Black mayors in the country, there was an organizing and a kind of massing of Black political influence that made the potential of coalition building much more plausible. And so the groundwork that becomes the 1984 campaign, or the campaign leading up to the 1984 election, starts with things like the Southern Crusade, right? I met Rev in 1983, long before he had decided he was going to run for president, though he may have been considering it. Organizing Black voters, registering young people, raising the understanding that political outcomes are tied to political participation, and that becomes key. So you don't have to be the majority to be able to affect the outcome. He changed our understanding of the way politics worked in America, and changed the way political parties that wanted Black participation had to consider our role. And so 1984, Allah, if we could go back to our version of 1984, not the book, but the reality, is that we need to get back to those basic fundamental principles of understanding that a disorganized electorate is an electorate that's always wanting and never receiving. We've got to show up and not get caught up in how many we bring, but get caught up in how many we leave out. We've got to come full speed, all in, 10 toes down, ready to make folks reckon with the fact that we're not going anywhere. And if we let our frustration drive our engagement, then we're going to be frustrated for a while, because the framework of America is not going to do, in the words of that Spike Lee joint, it's not going to do the right thing. It's going to do the American thing, which has always been about economic interests for the few at the expense of the many.
You know, when I think about the founders of the Democratic Party, I think about its original founding as the Democrat Republican Party of 1792-93, founded by Thomas Jefferson. I think about the organizational founding of the Democratic Party, the pro-states' rights party of Andrew Jackson in 1828. He's the organizational founder, identifying the party as an agrarian, states' rights party, property interest, slave holding party. That organization became firm in 1828. And then I think about, the modern Democratic Party of Lyndon Johnson, Martin Luther King Jr., and Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson is a founder of the modern Democratic Party. Barack Obama obviously took advantage of that founding. I wouldn't necessarily consider him to be a founding father of the party. He's certainly a recipient of the architects of the Democratic Party in the 20th century. Todd, in my assessment, I was so impressed earlier with Tavis Smiley's interview with Abby Phillip on her new book. Is my assessment in the ballpark?
It is the ballpark. It's not in it. Remember the remaking of the Democratic Party from what it was, particularly during the civil rights movement, largely driven by segregation-minded, segregation-intended policies to really influence and drive not only what we saw in terms of policy change in the 60s, in terms of the Great Society Plan of Lyndon Johnson, but also the political force, the power of Black political participation that shifted as a result of a willingness to address the political needs, the political goals of people that had been historically excluded. And so what Reverend did was he actually made politics more personal. It was identifiable because he was speaking to the realities of regular everyday people. I still remember the two most profound words of either of his convention speeches to me were, "I understand." When he talked about his own story and put it in the context of a dialogue with the delegates at the convention, he says, "I understand. I understand if you've been left out. I understand if you've been left behind. I understand if your story is not as prominent as others might claim for themselves." He says, "I get it." But he also made room for the fact that this is exactly the moment where folks whose stories are not the most prominent are really the most powerful. And he changed the reality of political participation and outcomes that not only elected Barack Obama as president, but also changed the makeup and the representation of even the Congressional Black Caucus. When we think about how many elected officials we have up and down the ballot, whether you're looking local, state, and federal, that has been, I think, the enduring legacy of Reverend, but it's also been the target of the resistance that has been the blowback, because there's been a great deal of resentment ever since that this limited number of people representing about 13% of the population would dare assert themselves to affect the political outcomes in these United States of America.
I appreciate that, Todd. I think in 1984, there may have been a dozen Hispanics in the Congress as well. There probably were 30 African Americans. Today there are 32. Today there are 62, I'm sorry, and there are 32 or more Hispanics in the Congress of the United States, in large measure because not only the Voting Rights Act of 1965 applied to certain congressional districts in the South, but the spirit of the Voting Rights Act applied to places in the North where, to comply with the Voting Rights Act, other states then began to comply with it, not because they were mandated by Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act and or needed preclearance. It was just the right thing to do to make sure that Blacks and Hispanics and women and others and Asians had access to the Congress of the United States so that the voices of these communities could be heard. That's Jesse Jackson. Make no mistake about it. That's Jesse Jackson, and that's an extraordinary contribution. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More on Wealthy Wednesdays with S. Todd Yeary when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community, educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MAJOR25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you missed the recent Left Coast Forum, then you really missed out. An insightful presentation from Professor Richard Wolff, a call to action from LA Mayor Karen Bass, an insider's view on Prop 50 and the government shutdown from Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, and as usual, Dr. Cornel West brought down the House with a powerful closing keynote. And many of the plenary sessions were standing room only. Check out our social media posts for photos and video of what you missed at the Left Coast Forum and make plans to attend one of our upcoming events. Our next Altadena Town Hall is Thursday, November 6th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena. We're going to interrogate SoCal Edison's settlement fund and see what's really going on with this fire recovery program. And our KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair is Saturday, November the 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here in Lamert Park at Catch at Audubon Middle School. All the details about these upcoming events can be found at our website, KBLA1580.com. So thanks again to all those who supported the Left Coast Forum, and a special thanks to our partners this year: the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Partnership for Growth, UTLA, LA Care Health Plan, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and the Liberty Hill Foundation.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, who has 1 foot in the pulpit and 1 foot in the courtroom. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always good to hang out with you. It's always a wonder what you're going to come up with to discuss.
Well, you're going to love this. I need to know the answer to why everything negative is black and everything pure and golden is white. For example, Black Friday, stock market crash, Black Tuesday. What happens on Black Tuesdays? Oh, that was Black Tuesday. That's when that happened. Today, okay, my producer here is trying to shove some stuff my way. Listen, so everything, I mean, it's like, Easter is a beautiful white, pink celebration, but everything negative that happens seems to have a colorization of black folks or black on it. And like nothing positive is asserted by it. Todd, what happened to the English language that keeps us fighting against perception that there's nothing wrong with us? And I think in that moment, I lost Dr. Yeary. Well, what I have to say about it myself is how we see ourselves matters. And I think that my father, Reverend Jesse Jackson, probably said it best when he said, "I am somebody." And his response to "I am somebody," the reason behind it was there was a culture in the South of Black people represented nobodiness. And so "I am somebody" becomes an affirmation that we matter, but it is against the overwhelming public sentiment that somehow anything Black is something that is undesirable in our system. I'm counting on the mind of Dr. S. Todd Yeary to help us understand where this negativity associated with our existence has come into play, because it matters in our understanding of who we are and the English language. Dr. Yeary?
All right, so you wait until we got 5 minutes left in the show to ask probably the most consequential question that we're going to raise in a while. It goes back to our awareness of history, and it is ultimately part of understanding how worldview fits within our politics. And so unless we understand ancient African history and how the evolution of what we now know to be European history, American history evolves to set itself over as a distinction from that which had to be stereotyped as other and ugly and evil, we can't get it all in. But let's just be very clear
that the history of the engagement with people of African descent who have a peculiar response to sunlight is not new. It has taken on various forms. It has shown up at historical moments, whether we're looking at the Berlin Conference and the carving up of the continent arbitrarily with no concern for cultural or linguistic patterns tied to economic interest and military power. If we look at it in terms of Alexander the Great's campaign and the destruction of the library at the University of Sankore in Timbuktu, if we don't understand the worldview that life is cyclical, it's not linear, that our ancestors have as much power as the Catholic Church, that our understanding of the great cloud of witnesses is not some sort of paranoia or some sort of hocus pocus, that we miss this moment. This ain't new. This has been the design and the desire of those who are trying to hold back those that they could not really figure out. So they made color, not culture, a thing.
I think, Dr. Erie, that's a great brief summary of what we're looking at here. And the reason I raise it is because, after 9/11, we rebuilt One World Trade Center with all deliberate speed. We, after World War II, rebuilt Europe with American taxpayer funds. But when it comes to rebuilding Jamaica and rebuilding Haiti and these countries in our hemisphere, when it comes to rebuilding our schools because they're public and because overwhelmingly Black and brown, when it comes to addressing issues of poverty in the United States, which they paint as Black, as downstate Texans and downstate Illinoisans say to themselves, we don't want to do anything for upstate Dallas Blacks or Houston Blacks or Chicago Blacks. When we all find ourselves in the same bucket, it just seems to me that they use this simple definition of Black to justify their hatred, but in that justification, they find themselves in the exact same pit that we're in economically, needing a path and a plan out. Dr. Erie, welcome forward. I'm so grateful you spent this Wealthy Wednesdays with us.
Black is beautiful. That's all I got.
Amen. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More on Thought Provoking Thursdays this coming Thursday with Johnny Mack. Look forward to seeing and listening to everyone then.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica,